So welcome those of you who are here for the first time to the Chit Chat. Also welcome to those of you watching on YouTube. As you can see, we've got a special guest here today with us, Rosemary Ben, our dear brother soul, friend of all, mother of the world, Purifier Ganges. She is with us. Ranjan Ben will be joining us also shortly. And I think most of you will know that Monday is Dadi Janki Remembrance Day. So we're definitely going to spend a little bit of time today reflecting on experiences with Dadi Janki. And then we've had a request around this topic of being honest with the Father, which is such a perfect topic for Dadi Janki Day because that was one of her favorite topics that she used to take up. And then my plan is, just like last week, we did a watch along with one of Dadi Gulzar's classes. We'll do one with one of Dadi Janki's classes. And then I can also comment in between. So I think it's a really great topic around being honest with the Father. So let's begin with that topic first. Rosemary, do you want a few minutes to think about it? Shall I share first?
Please share first.
So I'll share some things and then Rosemary can come in, and also any of you who would like to share something, feel welcome to do so. And I think one of the things we got to keep in mind with this concept of honesty is Baba teaches us to have all relationships with him. When we are devotees, it's only one relationship, right? He is our God, and we are the devotee. We don't have all relationships with him. It's possible we might have one or two. So we might remember him as a father. Quite often when people are worshippers of Krishna, they might then visualize Krishna as their child, like another child that also then looks after them. But all relationships, that I think is much more unusual with God. And so for us, the concept of honesty with God takes a different dimension. Because you have to then think about what does that mean in every relationship. Let's take the example from our human world. If, say for example, you might see me as your elder spiritual brother, your spiritual friend, you might see me as even your teacher, spiritual teacher, right? Now, probably myself and yourself, we don't have many karmic accounts like that otherwise, right? We know each other through Buddhist classes, we meet online, and our relationship is mainly purely based on Baba's knowledge, right? So if you wanted to share something that's going on in your life, you could use me as a confidant. You wouldn't feel too much problem because there's an absence of a karmic account. And really, I could be like a safe person that's outside of all of your situations. And I probably don't know anyone in your life even. So it's not really that I'm going to share anything with anyone. Now you think that same issue that you got in your mind, and then think about the people you live with. You think about the people you work with. Would you be honest with them in the same way? You can see, can't you, that there's a difference. But you wouldn't say you're being dishonest, would you? So I think this is what we've got to understand. We've got to, first of all, come out of the mindset that you're either honest or you're dishonest. This is incorrect. So the mindset is not, Baba's not saying, be honest with the Father, otherwise you're dishonest. But what Baba is saying is you're going to have to feel safe to share everything with Baba. That's your first step in all relationships. Because what you'll find is that you are like, with all of us, as human beings, we're always analyzing and molding according to who we are with. And we develop this skill from childhood. So I used to teach children, and from a very young age, you see them, I reckon from about 3 years old, they begin to analyze. 4 years old, you can see. So for example, if you ever go to a nursery, a 3-year-old generally likes to play on their own. And the brain is not developed enough to really play with others in the same way. They're used to playing with their parents alone, but less so with other children. But 1 year later, they develop further and they begin to have friends. So from 4 years old, this is why we usually start children in nursery, still kindergarten, from about 4 years old. And at that age, we begin to analyze them. How do I fit into this new society that I am part of? And we begin to learn, how do I make people laugh? How do I make people love me? How do I get attention? And so on. So our intellects have become refined in this process since childhood. And what Baba is saying to us, can you now become Dehiyadim? Can you renounce the arrogance, the consciousness of the body? So as human beings, we must analyze in order to survive and thrive, because our external image determines our life experiences. So I often say that we don't really have self-esteem. We have ego management. Right? We don't really have self-esteem. What we call self-esteem is actually ego management, because the intellect is refined at analyzing, and then as it analyzes, it then is able to adapt to mold itself in that way. So Baba says to us that children, I look at only the soul. I am not interested in your external images. The ego, you have to renounce the ego of the body to connect with me. So Baba says that if you want to connect two wires together, you have to strip the cover, and then the two bits of copper can connect together. So Baba is saying, don't bring your ego and analysis in front of me. I am looking at something deep. I want you to consider yourself to be a soul. And your destination is to become a zero. You have to now learn that the power to pack up and the power to withdraw is today's blessing. You have to go into the sweetness of solitude. And we can't imagine in body consciousness that being nothing is fullness. So our process in body consciousness is acquisition. But what that leads to is deception. Because every time I create a new layer of ego, I am creating, because I'm the soul, I'm an actor. I'm a traveling actor. And so I am acting. I am performing the role. And as an actor, I'm good at hiding my truth in order to perform that role. For example, I work as a professor at university. They're not interested in my personal life, are they? They're not interested in my religious beliefs, because I'm playing a role. Right? I am assessed on my role. that I am playing. So we do this in every relationship. So Baba says every relationship is a performance. And it means that you are deceiving to some extent because acting is deception. And Baba says, come out of the drama, time to go back home. Be the Shaligram once again with Shiva. So the honesty that Baba is talking about is actually the honesty of not being all of the many roles that I play. And Baba says, who are you really? And bearing that soul. And then from that space, we begin to share with Baba all of our alloy. So Baba says, first of all, stabilize in who you are. Then let's look at the alloy. In fact, we don't know who we are. So if we just then regret and repent and give, and Baba says, these are bhakti samskaras. So a lot of the things that we call honest are actually the samskaras of regretting, repenting, guilt, shame. We have many of these samskaras, and Baba says, I'm not interested. They are also performances. They are also deception. I am interested in you putting a full stop and changing that. That's honesty. Because that has responsibility merged with it. That you say, yes, I do want to really change. And that sincerity is honest. So Baba is not interested in yesterday, he's interested in today. He's interested in tomorrow. And he is just totally focused. Because like I was saying in the recording this morning, that a lot of bhakti is about the past, right? It's about memory. And Baba said, you go into the golden age, you don't even remember me. Because Shiv Baba is also past. And the deity mind only lives in the present moment. It does not have, I don't think we have like the chit, like memories. The consciousness is different. We don't think about the future either. Baba says the deities don't have the knowledge of the cycle, otherwise their happiness would go. Because you don't want to be thinking about the future either. So our consciousness is different there when we are in the golden age. So it's a very, what Baba is trying to get us out of is that a lot of the honesty and bhakti is connected then with many other sanskars of shame and guilt, repentance. So he wants us to purify even our honesty and sense of compassion. And then we think about it in all relationships. So, for example, maybe you can connect with Baba easily as your mother and father. Dadi Janki used to say that we should always start with Baba in two relationships, the mother and the friend. These should be our first two relationships to connect with. Because, of course, we're very damaged, aren't we? And we need love, really, from Baba. This is the most important thing, love and knowledge, right? So this is the most important thing. And the Brahmin family is very important because through the Brahmin family, we get a lot of love from Baba. Because it takes us time to develop our yoga, to just take from Shiv Baba the seed. So Dadi Janki used to tell the story of how she struggled with Sakar Bhakti as a friend for many years because her sanskars of bhakti were reverence. So Baba is the father, the teacher, the Sadguru of Baba. But that friend and Dadi Janki had in particular two best friends within the Yagya. The first was Didi Manmohini, who was the senior sister of the Yajna. She was the Didi of the Dadi. And the second, Dadi Chandraman. And what she noticed about both of them, but particularly Didi, was Didi's ability to be a friend with Brahmadeva and with Bhakti. And so she spoke with Didi about this. Now, what she didn't expect. So Didi gave her advice, and then what she didn't expect, Didi then went and told Baba. So she didn't really want Baba to know that, but then Baba called her to come and spend some time with him. And so she spent a couple of days where Baba really connected as the friend with her. There's another Dadi. So Dadi Janki was a different type of character anyway. She was less leisure time and more work. Her pleasure was in her work. That was always her character. But there was a younger Dadi who was in the children's class with Dadi Gulzar. Her name was Dadi Sandeshi. The word Sandesh means trance message. And so she was one of the regular trance messengers. And she was the Dadi of Orissa. So you'll hear in the Moralins, the Baba will refer to the images of the deities going into vice at the temple of Jagatnath, which is a temple of Krishna in a place called Puri, which is in this state. So Bengal is in eastern India, and just south of Bengal is this state of Odisha. And this was the Dadi of that state. Maybe at some time, if I get some time, I will record the translation of her experiences. But she would say that her relationship with Baba was always a play with Baba. So Brahma Baba used to enjoy playing carom. You might have seen that, where they flick the like the discs pieces. It's like snooker with sort of checkers pieces. And Brahma Baba used to play a card game, Rummy, a bit. So maybe some of you have played Rummy. It was like a very popular game in British, like all the time. My grandfather as well used to play that with me. And the other one, the little bit, I used to play a blackjack and snap. And so whenever she visited Madhuban, even in the 50s and 60s, she used to think that, Brahma Baba is so busy, and he's got the whole responsibility for the yajna. It was very poignant, wasn't it? The day before, was it Thursday's Morali, where right at the end of the Morali, Brahma Baba said that this Baba thinks about all of the children and then thinks about the big task of the whole world. So she used to see it as her mission was to make Brahma Baba laugh and smile whenever she went to Madhuban. So she just went to play. Baba would say, "Oh, let's talk about it." She said, "No, Baba, let's come and play. Let's do something. Let's play something together." So she had this natural ability which she never let go of connecting with Baba as the time. And Dada Vishwaratham, he was a very serious yogi. His day is the 7th of March. And he used to also say that sometimes he used to enjoy just practicing his solitude, where he's just imagining playing badminton with Baba. And he used to play badminton with Baba, where the Tower of Peace is, that was actually the sports court. And so they used to put the volleyball nets, which they used as a badminton net also. And they could lower it down for tennis as well. Mama preferred tennis to badminton. So Baba used to usually win. And the daddies would say that sometimes Baba had to let Mama win a little bit. So we used to have that sort of interaction. Dada Bridge Mohan, Dada Jagdish, Dada Nirvair, they were in their 20s when they came to knowledge in the 50s and 60s. And when they visited Madhavan, Baba kept a routine. So when groups were coming, 4 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. So 4 until 4:45 was indoor games, and 4:45 until 5:30 was outdoor games. And so, especially for 20-year-old boys, being able to connect through games is a very good way of building friendships and building relationships. So back then, they were very much like that. And even when Daddy Gulzar was younger, when I was a child in the 1980s, but I remember like 1988 when I met Baba 5 times in the 15 days that I was there. And it was a smaller family and there were not so many rules within the family. And I can remember like just even after Baba, not during the morally, Baba is very formal. You can't just go on the stage or anything then, but Baba would stay then afterwards, make groups, and basically anyone who wanted to sing a song that could go on the stage and sing a song for Baba. So we had very variable quality, but that wasn't important. It was that people wanted to, and as children, like drama is a good way, isn't it, to engage children? So my children's class teachers used to do a lot of drama with us, and I used to love acting. So we used to just make up these really terrible plays and then go and perform them. And I can remember at the end, before Baba was taking me, everyone got tolling, and the children's class were able to go first to go and get the tolling, and you had to queue up one side of the stage, go on, take the tolling. And we used to go around like 5 or 6 times, just join the back of the queue, and then we're kind of like, take another piece of tolling, go back around. And as children, you could sort of sneak into the queue and then take another piece of tolling. I can remember once we had like samosas and picnic in the garden with the babies. And of course, we children, we like samosas, pakoras, and these sorts of things. So again, when everyone was meant to just get 1 or 2, but as children, we would just go around and make sure we had many times of these things. And then the brothers, they learnt our tricks. So they used to call us separately at 2 p.m. and make the chorus separately for the children. And we used to take them in these newspaper tomes. And what are we learning here? That Baba as the friend helps us to become honest. Baba is the mother, because we have many unconscious fears with authority figures. And we know that we can't be honest without everything in the IM. Because if you say everything that you're thinking and feeling, actually that's damaging. So we are constantly controlling ourselves with some level of fear. And how would teachers and parents control us? Through fear, right? That's how you do it. And so what happens is sometimes when we connect with Baba in those relations, the old sanskars are working unconsciously, and we are feeling that sense of fear of Baba. So Baba as the mother and as the friend helps us to begin to shed away those many layers, and we can develop that transparency. And then as we develop that in all relationships, so for example, Baba is the beloved is actually the hardest relationship, because that's the one where Baba is looking for us remembering no one apart from him. We're just loyal to him. We're just absorbed in his love. We're just committed to him. And we were remembering Daddy Gulzar last week, and she was an example, wasn't she, of that when you're just lost in the love of one, So we've got to all get to that point. But that's a really high standard. Whereas with the mother and the phone, it's unconditional, isn't it? We're not. So we need that to build ourselves up. And then on Wednesday, we heard that morally from Baba the Satguru. If you remember, it was a tough dose to take, where Baba was being very, very tough with it. And when we get moralies like that, or we get sections of the morally like that. So again, to have that relationship with the Satguru, it's a tough, because his standard is either you're doing it or you're not. It's just either you're following or you're not following. It's just very, very absolute, 100%. You're either yes or no. And we need strength for that. So that can also cause us to not feel we can be fully honest in that relation. But it's a different type of honesty. So we're now in the 1994 Morales every Sunday. I think this week is the 2nd February one. And then in a few weeks, we'll be moving on to the 94, 95 year Morales. And 18th January 95 is the day that Baba came in Gyan Sarovar to do the opening. And because that hall is quite small, he then came 19th January in Om Shanti Bhavan to speak the proper Morale, the full Morale, and meet everyone. And then he came a week later on the 26th of January 95. And what he decided to do was use those 2 Morales to explain the 4 steps of Brahma. And Shiv Baba spends a lot of the Avyakt Morales telling us what Brahma did. What was the efforts of Brahma? You'll notice that the Sakar Morales, that they mainly refer to Lakshmi and Narayan. They say that you've got to become like Lakshmi and Narayan, look at their virtues, keep them in front of you, they are your aim and object. But you'll notice in the Avyakt Morales that Baba doesn't really mention Lakshmi and Narayan that much. But mainly Shiv Baba tells us this is what Brahma did. This was the stage of Brahma. This was the effort of Brahma. This was the destination of Brahma. You've got to see the Father Brahma, follow the Father Brahma. And in those 2 Morales, Shiv Baba explained to us these 4 steps, and they're all different versions of honesty. So the first one is, he said, Brahma's first step was obedience. So that was the thing when Baba goes into the detail of that. But it's quite tough for a 50-something millionaire to just become obedient. Like, how many 50-something millionaire men do you know who listen to anyone? I mean, they don't listen to anyone at all, usually. Usually, if that type of man is a really successful businessman, you've got your reputation and everything, you think you know everything, and the whole world is affirming to you that you know everything, you are successful. And yet, Shiv Baba just said, do this, and he was obedient. And then the next step Baba said is he had that loyalty to Baba, that complete commitment to Baba. So that's again, when you're thinking about relationships, that's another part of it, isn't it? That loyalty, that commitment. He renounced his attachments to all of the family members, and he connected with one. Then the 3rd step was complete honesty. And it's interesting that Baba mentioned that as the 3rd step and not the 1st step. And what happens is, actually, the more powerful we become as yogis, sometimes we can lose some of our transparency and honesty. Because if you're in charge of something, everyone's looking up to you. We see this in the Lokik world, don't we? That once someone becomes more senior, we can have more corruption, actually. And look at Brahma Baba, he maintained this transparency. He put others in charge of everything, right? And we hear in the Morales, we hear from the Dadis and the Dadas that Brahma Baba was very careful not to spend anything on himself. that was coming in, he spent it on the children's accommodation because he's very aware that he has to be very transparent. He has to be very, very sincere. He has to be very honest. When the more powerful you are, the more transparent you have to be. So that was that third step. And then the fourth step was Farman Vardhan, the one who follows every order. So that's linked with the Satguru. So what Baba was saying yesterday, that you will go in that stage of being Master Bhagwan, Master God. And we saw that 18th January 1969, the first soul that became equal and flew as the angel Adam. So we saw that. And so you can see that this concept of honesty really has so much depth, and as you connect it in with all of the relationships, you can see that that has got a really high standard. So, Benjamin, would you like to come in?
May I add this something about honesty? I think we have to understand the positioning from which we're coming about what we're being honest. If we're coming even with a trace of the devotee, it's going to be tainted with that. And so we need to know what we need to be honest about, what the vision is of the self. So that's quite a starter, isn't it, to work on that one. And there's the Ravan element as well, the ego that comes in when we can be defensive and so on, and hide things. So that's quite a journey in itself. For us to understand our ignorance and confusion that we're coming from, and get all of that in perspective and clear the way, just understand what it is that's hiding the diamond, and really get the grips with that. Then we can present it in an honest fashion to the Father. And for us to understand the Father as well, the Father's purity, and the distance that there is between our condition and the Father's condition, that he's never, ever been impure. He's never been embodied. I mean, he temporarily uses a body, but he's never been embodied. And the total difference between 84 births that the soul has experienced, and that one. So we get the scope and the scale of things, and that is gives us an opportunity to see just what we're working on. I don't know how long we've got, but I do have a little story about this. So it's about Dadi Janki, and that seems relevant at this time too. This one decided that she's got to clean the slate. This is very early on in the and so a letter to Baba was written and duly sent off. And I waited and waited and waited for some response. I thought there must be some response. I didn't tell anybody that I was expecting it, and waited a bit. And then finally I got impatient. And actually I happened to be sitting in front of Dadi Janki. We'd gone to Global House and been, awarded an audience, if you like. And I said to her, Daddy, I sent this letter and I haven't had a reply. She had sent for it. And she got the letter and she sat there in front of me and read this letter, which had all sorts of stuff in it. I don't even want you to guess. And to my mind. And so I was very happy about this, to be honest, because I didn't like it being pushed away and not noticed. I wanted it to be seen and so on. And actually, there was someone else sitting with her, and she showed it to that person as well. They were shocked. And they said, "I've never been like this," or something to this effect. And that didn't do them much good in my eyes. Dadi Janki didn't turn a hair of course. She's Dadi Janki. And that gave me then an understanding of that I had cleared the state very beautifully, and how important that complete mask, well, it wasn't a mask, it just didn't matter. And so that I feel is relevant as well.
Yeah, nice story. Benjamin, did you want to share anything?
Well, yeah, I just always remember this object only with Baba. Why Baba keeps on saying that follow Brahma, Baba, and Mama, and not brothers and sisters, because they are still making, brothers and sisters can make mistakes, they're making their efforts. And so if you look at Mama and Baba, who have been real example, you can see they did it in a practical way. You can see their tapasya, their honesty, that way, everything. So if you follow them, then Baba says you won't become a law breaker. But otherwise, because Baba says we are the lawmakers. Today was in the movie about systems and bhakti. But we, at this time, we all are making our own laws and systems, and then whatever sanskar will be ruling by that, and that will become the laws of our kingdom. And this is why Baba says at this time, pay so much attention to yourself, because you all are lawmakers. And so if you follow Mama and Baba, who have become virtuous and followed Srimad properly, accurately, and made their stage and claim number 1 and 2. So that's why Baba said, look at them, follow them, you will be safe. Whereas if you look at brothers and sisters, you will be law breakers, because, you know, instead of looking at the virtues and specialties according as per Baba's Srimad, you'll be breaking the laws, you'll make mistakes, and you incur loss to yourself. And so that's why Baba says follow and look at Brahma, Baba, and Mama, who have claimed already their numbers.
Salwa, great to see you and meet you. We've messaged many times. Would you like to come and share something? You can just unmute yourself, sister. You have to unmute yourself, sister, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Shanti. I should just say that I am very happy and overwhelmed to be with the family. So just to listen to you is already a blessing. And I understand how really the family is important. Baba is important, but the family is important. Without family, there is no Baba. And I'm just happy to be with you in these special days of Dadi Janki. And I would like to share one story that now that you are relating this beautiful souvenir of sweet Dadi Janki. When she came here into Morocco, we have celebrated in Agadir her 100-year-old. And in the airport, when I was there with the brothers and sisters, I wanted to have a last word from her, and I told her, Daddy, don't go without answering this question. What do Muslim people need from Baba's knowledge? Don't leave me like that. And she gave me a beautiful drishti, and she said, and then Hasabin had translated, she said, like, what is this question? Baba has no Muslim or Christians or Hindu children. He doesn't have this. We are souls. And when I got this answer, I got it, but still in a practical way, I said, in terms of seva, what is the most important thing we need to do? She said one word. She said, yoga. Here it is yoga that we have to emphasize, to be serviceable, to be, through serving children is to work yoga. And then I understood why I spent many years here. I didn't go to Baba as soon as I took birth in 2010 in Oxford. I went to Madhuban only last year in June. Because, and I was wondering when I went to Baba, I told them in Amrit Villa, the first night in Madhuban, told him, Baba, why drama didn't really help me before? I waited like from 2010 until 2022. And he said, I had to make you incorporeal first. That's all he said. And when he said that, I understood that all of these years, I didn't have really the pull to go to Madhuban because Baba was here with me in the work, in the car, in when I drive, when I eat, when I sleep. And I said, what can I look for more than this? Papa is with me. And for me, Madhuban, to go physically to Madhuban would be just like tourism or to visit a historical place where Brahma Baba were. But for me, Baba was with me. And I think that was my lesson that I got from Daddy is this link, the link imperturbable, imperturbable that Baba made me taste, taste. And yeah, the knowledge is important. I cannot miss them early. But I think at the end, it is this link, that makes us alive. It's not really the knowledge, but it is the yoga that makes us alive. I'm sorry if English is very few words. I don't have many vocabulary in English.
You can
But
say it in French,
I'm
no
blessed
problem.
to be with you, my family.
Well, beautiful sharing, Salad, and I'm so pleased that you were able to join us today from Morocco, and that you are representing. And in future weeks, we definitely want to explore a little bit more, maybe your question, about the Muslim people from Muslim background. How do we connect it with Baba's knowledge? And so many points in the Moli, as you know, are actually references to Muslim tradition. because you cannot really separate North India from Muslim tradition. So we will definitely have further discussions on that in future weeks. So thank you so much. And actually, as you were sharing, I was being reminded of the scene in 2011 on Dadi Prakash Mani's anniversary day. There is a YouTube of that, a YouTube video of that too. And Baba sent the soul of Dadi Prakash Mani for those 3 or 4 years back into Dadi Gozar's body to meet us. And that time she stayed quite a number of minutes. And I can recall Dada Brij Mohan asking her for her advice on service, like you did with Dadi Janki. And because Dadi Prakash Mani was, of course, the administrative head, so when she was in the body, she would be the one approving plans for service. So it was natural to ask in that way. And Bapdada had just come a few months before, and I can recall him saying to Dada Brij Mohan that he wanted more programs on the sermonizer of the Gita. And so he asked Daddy, Abhyak Daddy, what are her inspirations for service? And you see, when we ask these questions, we often think it would be something practical. But Daddy's answer was, use the power of thought. That they're working on another level, you see. So we think that words and actions will be more impactful. But actually, Bapdada, these angels, they're working on the level of thought. And the daddies would always say that not many people became BKs when Brahma Baba was here. But once he became an angel, once everything transformed into the power of thought, look how much has happened. And as the daddies are becoming angels, more is happening. So it's not that the words have the impact, it's the yoga. The second story that comes to mind is Bapdada had asked Sister Janki to go back and begin service in London. Well, she surrendered in June 1968. And so then she went back to live with her parents in London because there was no center there. And then Baba became an angel in January 69. And so then after about 1 year, she wrote to Dadi Prakash and said to Daddy, nothing is happening, no service. She tried different programs, exhibition, nothing is happening after about 1 year, 1.5 years. And the letter she got back from Dadi Prakash was, you can always serve yourself. That it's not possible for a Brahmin to write to Daddy and say there is no service. Because you can always serve yourself. So Sister Janki said that really helped her to focus on her own yoga. She said it was those first few years, they didn't really have any Brahmins coming until 1974. So about 5 years, they tried to do different programs, but then only really after Dadi Janki came in 1974, that Daddy's presence inspired souls. But for 5 years, she had the chance to have her own yoga now after Daddy's letter. And that's become a good foundation for her. And then later on, she became very busy, but those 5 years of the yoga. So it sounds like the daddies were also guiding you that way. You've got this chance now to serve yourself, to build your stock of yoga, to improve the power of thoughts. And then practically, so there are Murali's where Baba says you've got to prepare the soil before you plant the seed. So the daddies are saying to you, prepare the soil. Maybe your job is to prepare the soil. Maybe other souls will plant the seed. So, and then maybe other souls, they have to pick the flower. Maybe other souls, they've got to create the bouquet. So maybe Daddy was saying to you, Salwa, prepare the soil. That's your job. Let's do that. Thank you for that sharing. And we'll keep Marco in our thoughts. So would anyone like to share anything? Otherwise, I'm going to switch to Daddy's class now. And then we can always have some reflections afterwards. Okay, let me switch to Daddy's class.
Hey, see you scrolling there. You know the average
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. सभी ने नहीं बोला.
Not everybody
सभी प्यार से बोलो बहन
responded.
भाई ओम शांति. अच्छा. कहेंगे
We can say
शांति में बैठे हैं.
that we were sitting
तुम
in
तीन बार ओम शांति
silence.
क्यों कहलाती हो?
So why do you make us say Om Shanti 3 times?
शांत में बैठे हो ना.
Because we were sitting quietly.
परंतु मेरा
But my
दिन भर में
throughout the day,
अपने आप से देखती हूँ एक ओम शांति.
I look at myself and I see that the first Om Shanti means who am I, and my finger points towards me. I am the soul at peace.
दूसरा ओम शांति
And the second Om Shanti,
किसकी हो?
the finger points up above, and I
Shakti
remember
aayati hai.
who do I belong to, and then power comes.
और सबको देख
Then when I see everyone,
भाई बहनों को देख
I see my brothers and sisters,
हर्षित हो जाते हैं.
I become very happy.
शांति शक्ति हर्षित.
And so there is peace, power, and happiness,
क्योंकि
because
समय
time
को कैसे सफल करना है
how can we make time
ये
successful,
परमात्मा बाप
worthwhile?
ने सिखाया है.
This the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul has taught us.
मुझे लोगों को देख
When I see everyone,
तरस पड़ता है.
I feel compassion
समय कैसे गमाते हैं.
because people do actually waste a lot of time.
सारा दिन परचिंतन
Whole day people are involved
वो
in
कैसा है वो कैसा है.
thinking about other people. This one's like this, that one's
पुराना
like that.
चिंतन.
Old thinking is still going on.
कभी भी बैठ के शांति से
If you ever sit down in stillness
soul conscious रहे,
and practice to be soul conscious,
वो शांति
that peace
soul conscious रहने की
of staying in the state of soul consciousness
वायुमंडल को
impacts the atmosphere.
इतने बहन भाई बैठे हैं,
There are so many brothers and sisters sitting here.
ट्रांसलेशन ठीक मिल रही है,
Daddy wants to know
Translation
if
ठीक
your
मिल रही है।
translation is
तभी
adequate.
ठीक है,
So you can wave your hands if it's okay.
स्पेनिश में भी है,
You have Spanish
अच्छा,
also.
तो तो हम आप बहन बहनों को
All of you brothers and sisters,
कोई नए हैं या पुराने हैं,
some of you are new, some have been here for a long time,
परंतु
yet
तीन बातें में एक दिन के अंदर भी
there are three things that within one day,
ये रियलाइजेशन से
through realization,
शांत
we go into deep peace.
कैसे आई, भगवान की शक्ति से आई।
How do we do this? It is through the power of God that we can
सबको दे खुश है,
stay in deep peace, and seeing everyone, there is the feeling of
ये जो लाइफ है
happiness.
ना
This life of ours
बहुत वैल्यूबल है,
is extremely valuable,
शांत रहने से।
which we can realize by sitting quietly in peace.
कभी भी कोई ऐसा ख्याल नहीं होता है
We could never get an idea, a thought,
जो हम निराश हो जाए,
which could make us feel depressed or hopeless.
निराश होना
Because to lose hope
अपन से या किसी से
about one's own self or about anyone
एक
else
बीमारी है।
is a kind of illness.
उसकी दवाई है,
And the medicine for this,
बीमारी है तो दवाई भी है।
because if there are illnesses, then there are medicines for them too.
ऐसी दवाई है
The medicine is such,
तो दवाई लेने से विश्वास बैठ जाता है,
when you take it, you get faith.
निराश,
To lose hope
मैं नहीं कर सकती हूँ ये,
or think that I
Doesn't
cannot do this, then who said such a thing?
दवाई ये है मते बच्चे मदद बाप।
For that, the medicine
ठीक
is
है,
the child is full of courage
जब
and
भी
the
कोई
father
निराशा आए,
helps. Whenever you get any thought of being
मेरे से
depressed
नहीं
or
होता है, मैं क्या
hopeless,
करूं?
or you think, no, I cannot do this, what can I
ये
do?
ख्याल भी आवे,
When this thought comes,
हिम्मत है,
then immediately think, no, the
सारी मेरी लाइफ
child
में अनुभव है।
has courage, and this is my experience throughout my whole
Mate
life.
bacche.
Just take a step of courage,
बाप।
and then the Father is there to help.
दूसरा है सच्ची
Secondly,
दिल पर साहिब राजी,
when you have the
Madad
honest
karta hai
heart, the Lord is very pleased
Sachi
and
dil
He
hai.
helps you a lot because you have an honest and true heart.
क्योंकि दो बातों के लिए
For two things,
समय को सफला करना है।
first is we have to make our time profitable and worthwhile.
अब अंदाजा लगाओ,
Check this.
ये टाइम जो 7 बजे योग में आते हैं,
This
तो क्लास भी
time
होता है,
you come at 7 and then there is class at 7:30.
कितनी खुशी होती है।
It makes you feel very happy.
ये मिलन में
this gathering.
समय कहता है
Time is telling us
समय समय अभी तुम बदले जगह बदलेगा
that now you change
badlo.
and then the world will change.
Kya
So
badlo?
you must change. What must you
Positive.
change? You must change everything into positive.
जो कल किसी ने मुझे सुनाया
Someone told me
मैंने क्लास में
yesterday,
बताया होगा
I might have mentioned
पांच
it in the
बातें।
class, there are 5 things
अगर लाइफ में है
which, if you have them in your life,
प्रैक्टिकल है तो निराश नहीं हो सकते
in a practical way, then it is not possible for you to lose hope
समय
and
है
feel
बदलने का।
depressed. This is the time for changing,
और
for
देखा है आंखें ने
transformation.
देखा है
And we see this, we don't see things with these
में
eyes at the
पहले
beginning.
हम थोड़े भी के थे
We were just a few BKs,
बहुत थोड़े भी के बहन भाई
very few brothers and sisters.
अभी 78 इयर्स हो गए
Now 78 years have passed.
60 इयर्स हुआ है भारत की सेवा को
For 60 years we
बड़े
have
हज़ारे हो गए।
served India, and there are thousands who have emerged.
40 साल हुआ
And for
विदेश सेवा
40
को
years we have served in foreign lands,
कईयों के जीवन
and many people's
लाखों की हो गई
lives,
है अभी लाखों है
there are hundreds of thousands of peoples whose lives have been transformed.
खुश है
They've become happy.
जो 7:30 बजे गीत बजता है ना
When we hear the traffic control song of 7:30,
जहाँ हमारा तन होगा वहाँ मेरा मन होगा
wherever our
तन
body
जहाँ
is
मन वहाँ जगह
here
घूम रहा है
and our mind is beyond. Our mind should not be wandering
तन में
around
मन धन
elsewhere.
संबंध
Our body, mind, wealth, and
बातें हैं,
relations,
life
4 things.
तन से
Through
मन से
our
पहले मन से
body, first you ask about the mind.
तन ठीक है
Is your body all right?
मन को
But your mind should not be
अगर
roaming
भटक रहा है,
around. If it's wandering,
तो तन भी बीमार हो जाता है
then your body will get sick.
If your power bills is higher than £100 a month, then you should check this trick out. This is the way to save on energy bills.
अगर धन है
If you have money,
तो भी फालतू खर्च करता है
don't waste it in unnecessary
है,
spending. If
तो
you
परेशान
don't
होता
have
है।
it, then you feel very concerned, very worried and
क्या
anxious.
करेंगे
What should you be doing?
है तो सफला करो
If you have money, then make it profitable. Invest it
कभी ख्याल नहीं
in
आया होगा
Baba's work. There should never be that thought.
कल हम कहाँ से खाएंगे
Where am I going to get food from
इसमें हमारी गुरु
tomorrow?
बैठी है
I have
Gudrun.
Sister Gudrun is
दिखाओ सबको।
sitting in front, so show your face
मैं
to
एक कहानी
everyone.
सुनाएगी इनकी
I'm going to tell a story about Gudrun.
उठ के कर
You stand up so everyone can see you. Turn around and stand up.
उठो 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 उठो
Daddy
उठो,
wants you
उठो।
to stand up and say hello to everyone.
ये लंदन में जियासी में रहती है
Gudrun stays in England in a
Garden
global
में
retreat center, and
ध्यान
she
रखती है।
takes care of the gardens
कितना
there.
साल हुआ होगा मुझे
It
याद नहीं
is
है
many years, I can't
पर
remember
सदा ही
how
खुश-
many, but she always is happy.
सदा ही खुश है इसको माँ ने पता नहीं किसने
Her
पैसा
mother
दिया।
or someone had given her money,
मैंने मुझे दे दिया
and she gave it to
तो
me,
जगह में खर्च
said, put this
मैंने
in the
कहा, मैं
yagya.
तो
I
रखो
said,
कुछ अपने
why?
पास।
You should keep some for yourself.
कहा मैं नहीं रखेंगी
And she said, no, I'm not going to.
मैंने रखो ना
I said, keep
नहीं
some.
रखेंगी।
She said, no.
क्यों
Why?
कहते रखो
She
मेरे
says, you
funeral के लिए
keep
चाहिए
it.
तो मैं रखो
I'll keep just
funeral
a
mein
little
karegi.
bit to do my
Amma bas
funeral
lekke jaan
because
boat.
I will take care of my funeral.
Nadi
But I
samne
said,
hai.
well, look, we've got a
Koi
river
wood
in
ke liye
front
to
and we've
nahi
got
lagega.
plenty of wood, so don't worry.
ऐसी wonderful बहन है.
So she is such a wonderful sister.
मेरे funeral के लिए चाहिए तो मैं रखूं.
So if you want me to keep some for
वो नहीं
my
सुना.
funeral, it's okay. Morni, did
ऐसी
you
कोई
hear
बहन देखी
this?
है.
Have you seen such a sister before?
असुर नहीं रखेगी.
She said, no, I won't keep anything back.
सदाइन जी ऐसे बगीचा देखो अच्छा लगा.
And you see how beautiful the garden is in GRC that she takes care of so well.
खुद भी साफ सुथरे.
And she keeps herself always very clean
इस तना से सेवा करना.
to do service through this body
मन को फ्री रखना, भगवान के याद में रखना.
and to keep the mind free so that you can stay
तो
in
धन भी
Baba's
सफल.
remembrance, then the wealth will be made profitable, certainly.
अब मुझे खुशी है, मुझे 5 पाउंड
I am
नहीं है,
very
5 रुपए
happy
नहीं है.
that
मैं
I
क्या
don't have
करेंगे?
£5 or 5 rupees. What
मिलता
should I do? Anyway, I get food.
सेवा करो,
Do service.
खाना मिलेगा.
You will get food.
बहुत पुरानी बातें हैं.
These are very old
हम कहते हैं मैं
points.
10 दिन का खाना बनाऊं,
I said,
क्या
I
मुझे खाना
can,
नहीं मिलेगा?
if I make food for 10 people, do you think I won't get any food to eat?
सच्ची दिल पर.
When you have a true and honest heart,
भगवान मेरे साथ राजी है ना.
when God is
बड़ी
happy with
साथ देता
me,
है.
then He gives great cooperation. He is always there for me.
वो खुश कैसे होता है?
How is He happy with me?
मैं हमें कहती हूँ,
I always say,
भगवान मेरे से खुश होए.
I want God to be happy
आप
with
में से
me.
कौन है जिसको ये सारा दिन ये क्या भगवान मेरे से खुश होए?
So
Just
who
what you
are
tell
you that you say
what me,
that you want God to be happy with you? Is there anyone who
मैं
has
खुश,
this concern?
मुझे कोई खुश करे, मैं खुश हो गया.
Some people say,
अरे सब
I
खुश है.
want somebody to make me happy,
भगवान
but
खुश-
no, you
वो
make
खुश इस पे
everybody
है.
happy and God will make you happy.
सच्ची दिल है,
The greatest happiness is when you have a true heart,
साफ दिल है.
have a clean heart.
हमारी लाइफ
In our life,
डायमंड जैसी हो.
our life is like a diamond.
आज किसको राय दिया,
Today I had advised someone,
तुम्हारी लाइफ में वैल्यू
the value in your life,
अगर धारणा नहीं है,
if you do not have dharna,
धारणा माना
dharna means
सच्चाई, प्रेम, विश्वास नहीं है,
if you don't have truthfulness, love, and faith,
तो जीवन की वैल्यू नहीं लगती.
then your life actually doesn't have any value.
स्वमान में नहीं रहते हैं.
And you aren't able to stay in your self-respect, your
जो स्वमान में
self-honor.
नहीं रहता है,
If you aren't able to stay
वो
in
औरों
your
को सम्मान नहीं दे
self-respect,
सकता.
then you aren't able to give regard
Simple
to
बात
anyone
है.
else. It's a very simple equation.
सच्चाई, प्रेम, विश्वास है.
It is through truthfulness, love, and faith
बहुत अच्छा लाइफ की वैल्यू.
that your life acquires a very good value.
मेरे में तो झूठ का
There shouldn't be
अंश
the
ना हो, पर और
slightest
दुनिया का ही
trace
झूठ
of
खत्म कर देगा.
falseness within me, and then I can
ये
destroy
विश्वास
the falseness in the world.
जो
This
प्रेम है
is
ना.
my faith, because there is love.
I'm no author and I sell literally thousands of books on Amazon every single month. And you know the crazy thing? I didn't write
प्रेम
Love
पिघला देता है.
melts the
कैसा
falseness,
होता है?
however it is.
प्रेम में
In love,
भगवान ने प्रेम दे करके, प्यार दे करके
God has given love,
सारी life को
affection in my whole life.
वैल्यूबल बना दिया.
He has made my whole life valuable through this.
मैं इंग्लिश नहीं जानती हूँ,
I do not know English,
पर एक
but
वर्चूज,
I know virtues.
वर्चूज है.
I know the
धारण करो
different
तो values हो
virtues.
जाएगी।
Now, if you inculcate the virtues, then you will become a person of values.
सच्चाई है, निम्रता है,
If you have truthfulness and humility,
value है।
these are values.
दूसरे के जीवन को भी
And other people's
साथ
lives
संयोग दे करके
are given company and support through this,
valuable जीवन बनानी है।
because then you can make others' lives valuable also.
अंदर में
Internally,
कोई बात नहीं रखो,
don't hold on to anything.
सदा मुस्कुराओ।
Always smile.
अकेले बैठे हो तो भी
Even when you're sitting alone,
किसके साथ बैठे हो?
with whom are you sitting?
मुस्कुराना मुश्किल नहीं है।
It is not difficult to smile.
कोई बात मुश्किल लगी ना तो मुस्कुराना मुश्किल है।
If something feels difficult, then it will feel also difficult to
बात मुश्किल
smile.
नहीं है,
The issues are not
बात
difficult,
को मुश्किल समझ के मुस्कुराना छोड़ दिया।
but by thinking different issues are difficult, then you have lost
Simple
the
बात
ability to smile. It's really a simple matter.
ये अनुभव है।
This is my experience.
कोई बड़ी बात करके ओ करके बात तो हम मुस्कुरा के
You
ये क्या कर
could
रहे हैं?
consider a very big thing to be too much, but you could also just smile and say,
छोटी बात को बड़ा करना
it's okay to make a small thing big.
कौन करता है?
Who does that?
जिसको और कोई काम नहीं है।
Somebody who doesn't have anything else to do.
और कोई ये बड़ी बात
And then there are some who
Simple,
make
छोटा,
big things very simple
धीरे
and
रखो।
small.
कुछ नहीं
It's
है।
through patience you say, no, it's nothing.
और ये है शब्द हिंदी,
It's a Hindi word,
पर इंग्लिश में मैं समझ सहज होऊंगा।
but I think in English it
जहाँ
would be
बाप है कोई
easy.
बात नहीं, जहाँ बात है बाप नहीं।
Wherever the father is, there are no issues. Wherever there are issues, the father is
जहाँ
absent.
बाप है,
And so the father is there.
सच्चाई है।
Truth is there.
भगवान
God
नॉलेज ऐसी दी है,
has given such knowledge.
हर एक का अपना पार्ट है।
Each one is playing their own role.
सिर्फ विशेषता देखने का
Simply
हर एक
looking
में अपनी
at their
विशेषता है।
specialities, because everyone has specialities.
पर नहीं,
But
इसमें
no,
ये
you
विशेषता इसमें नहीं है,
say
इसमें ये
this one is
साधन
missing
है।
this speciality, this one has this deficiency. If you
ये
think
सब
like
है।
that, then your time is lost in
व्यर्थ
that.
गमाना
To waste your time
तो
in this
अपने जीवन
way
की वैल्यू भी खत्म करना।
means that you destroy the value of your own life.
जीवन
Life,
ये जो टाइम है ना,
there is a time for your life,
ये बड़ा वैल्यूफुल है।
and that lifetime
change करना।
is very valuable. It is given to you, your lifetime is given to you for personal change,
जो हम
personal
रोज वाणी सुनते हैं बाबा
transformation.
की,
Every day we listen to Baba's Murli.
समझ भी देता है, शिक्षा भी देता है,
He
सावधानी
gives
भी देता है।
understandings,
हर वाणी में
teachings, and warnings
समझ भी
in
देता है।
every Murli. He gives understanding,
शिक्षा भी देता है,
he gives us teachings,
सावधानी भी देता है।
and he gives us
ये नहीं करना।
warnings. Don't do this.
और ये देखा गया है,
And we have seen,
एक परमात्मा विश्वास,
you have faith
उसका
in the
बल।
one Father, then there is great power that you develop through that.
जीवन का आधार है।
This becomes the foundation of your life.
अच्छी जीवन जीना है ना,
Because you want to live a good life.
दुआएं लेना, दुआएं देना।
take blessings and give blessings.
जहाँ भी रहो
Wherever you live,
सबकी दुआ है.
let there be blessings for everyone.
हम किससे बात करेंगे ना,
If anyone talks to you,
हमको blessing दो ना, दुआ अब मांगो नहीं ना,
just give blessings. Don't ask for things.
मांगो नहीं,
Don't ask.
ऐसे कर्म करो.
But do such karma
vichar
that
karo.
you draw people's
Shukriya.
blessings, have such thoughts, be
भगवान आपका
grateful to
जो
God
इतने अच्छे विचार करने के लिए इतना
that
अच्छा
you,
knowledge दिया
God,
है.
have given us such good knowledge so that we can have such good thoughts.
कोई मेरे से पूछते हैं
Some ask me
कभी कभी
sometimes,
तुम्हारे में एनर्जी कहाँ से आई है,
where do you get your energy from?
तो मुझे
And I,
बचपन से ज्ञान में आने के
since,
पहले भी
even before I came in Gyan, since childhood,
टाइम,
I've given
Money.
importance to time, money,
एनर्जी
and energy.
वेस्ट नहीं किया है.
I have not wasted any of these three.
राइट, टाइम
Time should be used rightly.
का वेस्ट नहीं किया.
I have never wasted my time.
मनी,
Money,
अगर हाथ में है
if there is money
सेवा
in the
करो.
hand, use it for service.
लौकिक में बाप जवारी था, पैसा बहुत था.
My Lokik father was a jeweler. He had a lot of
मैं रात
money.
को पूछते आज कितना कमाया, पैसा दो.
And in the evening, I would ask him how much you have
बीमारों के
earned.
हॉस्पिटल में
Give me money. And then in the
या
morning,
गरीबों
I
को
would go to the hospital where people
दे
are
देते
sick, or I would give that money to poor people.
कि ये क्या करती हो.
And they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Look, these are people in need.
हम क्या करेंगे.
What should we do with this money?"
अच्छे कर्म करने के लिए
In order to do good
उमंग होना
karma,
चाहिए.
you need enthusiasm and zeal.
सुस्ती नहीं हो.
You should not be lazy.
सबसे बड़ा
The biggest,
5 विकार तो ये है,
there are the
काम,
5
क्रोध, लोभ,
vices,
अहंकार.
greed, anger, lust,
ये तो
attachment,
ज्ञान में
and
आने से
ego.
पता चल गया.
And you knew about
ये
these
5
by
विकार
coming
है.
into Gyan, that these 5 are vices:
काम, क्रोध, लोभ, अहंकार.
greed, anger, lust, attachment, ego.
कोई कहे काम गया, क्रोध गया.
Some people
थोड़ा
say,
लोभ
well,
है, थोड़ा
I
मोह
don't
है.
have lust, I don't have anger, but I have a bit
नुकसान
of greed and a bit of attachment.
सिवाय
But no,
फिर-
these are harmful.
सुस्ती,
But aside from
ईर्ष्या.
these 5, laziness, jealousy,
द्वेष भाव,
the attitude of being divisive and having
Alabelai.
difference of opinion, being
Bahana
careless and making
5
excuses.
विकार और है.
These are additional 5 vices.
अच्छे काम के लिए
And they stop
जो
you
बहाना
from
बनाता है,
doing
excuse
good
देता है,
karma. People make
ये विकार है.
excuses, and these making excuses is a vice.
अच्छा करना कर लो.
If you want to do something good, then
अब
do
कर
it,
लो.
and do it now. Don't make excuses why you have to put
कैसे
it
करें,
off.
क्वेश्चन
You
नहीं
say,
है.
how should I do it? This is not a question. Just do it.
भगवान बल देता है,
God gives you the power,
करने से फल अच्छा निकलता है,
and by doing it, you
को
produce very good
फायदा
fruit.
मिलता है.
You get a lot of benefit, profit.
एक ड्रामा दिखाते थे. मैं समझ
There
यहाँ
was a
दिखाया था.
drama that
बहुत
they
पुरानी बात
showed.
है.
I think it was showed here, presented here. It was a
एक
very
भाई
old
ने
one. One
संजो-
brother
बहुत प्रकार के अच्छे अच्छे खाने बनाए,
made very good food,
बहुत अच्छे खाने बनाए,
very, very good quality food.
पर कहा ऐसे नहीं खाना है.
And he said, no, you can't eat it like that with your hands to your
खाना है तो
mouth,
खाओ ना.
because if there's
ये
food, then
ऐसे
eat
उठा के
it.
नहीं
He
खाना
said,
है.
no, you can't eat it like that by picking it up with your hands and eating.
समझा है.
He
ये नहीं
explained,
खाना है.
you can't do
खाना
that.
रखा है, नहीं खाना है.
So you can't
फिर
eat
मैंने
it. The
युक्ति किया.
food is there, but you
उसने
can't
मुझे वो
eat
खिलाए,
it.
मैं उसको खिलाऊं.
So you
ताली
have
बजाओ
to
ना।
give the food to somebody
समझा मेरी
else.
बात है?
Do you understand
मैं
my
जैकलिन आपको
point?
खिलाऊं,
If I feed Jacqueline,
आप मुझे खिलाएंगे।
then she will feed me.
कितनी सहज बात है।
It's such an easy thing. Don't feed
मैं
yourself,
खाऊं,
feed everyone. If I feed myself all the time, no, let me feed others.
फिर आप मुझे खिलाएंगे।
And then you will
Simple बात है
definitely
यार।
feed me. It's a very simple equation.
और जब बुद्धि
But when your intellect
स्वच्छ होती है,
is clean,
शुद्ध शांत,
and quiet,
शुद्ध शांत,
it has to be clean, pure, and quiet,
श्रेष्ठ,
then elevated and firm.
wonderful.
Then it becomes wonderful.
इसलिए भगवान कहता है मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए।
This is why God
तुम
says, I
बुद्धि
don't
मेरे को
want
दे दो।
anything. Just simply connect your intellect with me. I don't want anything else.
तो गीता में भी है,
In the Gita, it is also
भगवान को
written
इस साधारण बुद्धि से
that you must
नहीं
give
जाना
this
जाता है, नहीं आंखों से
ordinary.
देखा जाता है।
You cannot know God through this
उसको
ordinary
जानने और
intellect,
देखने
nor
के
see
लिए
Him through these eyes.
दिव्य
But to
बुद्धि
see
चाहिए।
Him and to know Him, you
दिव्य
need a
दृष्टि
divine
चाहिए।
intellect, you need divine
अभी हम
insight.
उसको जानते हैं,
And now
देखते
we
हैं,
know Him, we can see Him,
बुद्धि वो देता है,
because He gives us that divine intellect.
बुद्धि को
The
हम योग लगाएं,
intellect, when we
वो
have
शक्ति
yoga,
देवे।
He gives power.
बहुत अच्छा है।
It's very good.
ओके,
Okay?
ओम शांति।
Om Shanti.
और कुछ कहना है?
Do you
नहीं
have
कुछ कहना है?
anything else you want to say?
बड़ी बात तो नहीं है ना,
There aren't any big deals, are there?
सहज सिंपल बात है।
Everything is easy and
फिर मुझे
simple.
करना है तो यही करना है,
And so if you want to do something, then do this.
उसमें अल बेलाई में टाइम नहीं गमाना है।
Do not waste your time being careless.
यज्ञ सेवा तन से
Do
जो भी
yajna
करो।
service with your body, whatever comes up to be done, just do it.
अच्छा है।
It's very good.
Here's what traveling Egypt and Jordan with G Adventures looks like in 45 seconds. You can get up.
मन
Your mind
मन बना भव
has to be focused and
Baba, मन मेरे में
tuned
लगा
to
दो।
one. He
ये
says, connect your mind with me. I say, yes, Baba.
तो मन को
So the
वहाँ लगा
mind,
देने से
by connecting it there,
हमारे में अच्छे
then
गुण
within
अच्छी
us,
धारणाएं
good virtues come.
सेवा
We
में
can inculcate
बड़े
well,
useful है।
and these are very useful
मेरे
in
धारणा ना हो,
service.
गुण ना हो,
If I don't have dharna,
मैं
if I
क्या
don't have
बोलूँगी?
virtues, then what could I say?
क्या बोलेंगे? नहीं, अच्छे गुण
No, there have to be good
अंदर ही
virtues,
अंदर है।
deeply absorbed within.
संपूर्ण निर्विकारी,
We have to be completely
सर्व गुण
viceless
संपन्न,
and complete with
कोई
all
भी
the
अवगुण न रहे,
virtues. There shouldn't
सभी
be
गुण
any
होए।
defect remaining, but I should be completely
देवता
filled
बन
with
रहे हैं ना।
virtues, because we are
पढ़ाई
becoming
है देवता बनने
deities.
की ना।
This is study for
जब
becoming
देवता बनेंगे तो ही
deities.
पढ़ेंगे।
Once
अभी
you
पढ़ाई
become
पढ़ रहे हैं।
deities, you won't study. So now is the time to study.
ऐसे लायक बनना है, लायक बनना है।
You have to become worthy,
मैं बनूं ना
skilled, competent.
ये मैं बनेगी, क्वेश्चन नहीं है, मुझे
There's
बनना
no
है।
question of whether or not I can become
संकल्प
this. No, I have to become it. I will become it. The thought has to be very determined.
ये पांच बातें हैं।
These 5 things.
ये अंगुलियां पांच है,
There's a 5
ये अंगुली-
fingers. This finger
छोटी है, छोटी
is the little finger.
सहयोग देती है।
It gives cooperation. It's the symbol of cooperation. The next finger is the sign of victory for putting the tilak, and the middle finger is the sign of wisdom, and the index finger points to the one, and the thumb says, yes, it will happen. This is the symbol of determination, and when you put the thumb and index finger together, you have your determination and you point to Baba. Then it's wonderful. There is no problem because he is there and I am here, so put them together, there is no problem. So from today onwards, does anybody say any problems to Didi Nirmala? Are there any problems?
No problem.
No problems.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
English
I don't know English, but since I came to foreign countries, I learned, don't worry, no problem.
Worry, hurry, curry.
We used to say, if you worry and you hurry, then you'll create curry. So if you worry, you want everything, you get very anxious and agitated, and then you make a mess.
Sach bolo, meetha bolo.
Speak the truth and speak sweetly, speak softly.
Dheere dheere.
Quietly.
Main dheere dheere.
I also try to speak quietly.
Okay. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Anyone like to share any reflections?
I would like to ask about your to develop turn everything into positive. Baba has come to turn everything into positive. But
Right.
I see, yeah, what do you think about this? Turn everything into positive now.
Yeah, what I like, some of them, what I like about Dadi Janki's class is she teaches us how to think, right? And when we break down these points of Dadi, what she's saying is that actually there is only positive. But because you're not thinking right, then there's no. So this is the point she's making behind all of her teachings. That, for example, there's no such thing as being hopeless. But you think in the wrong way, you begin to feel hopeless. Actually, there's always hope. There's always hope for you. There's always hope for someone else. Brahma, yeah, it's not always good in the sense, of course, we have in the Iron Age many scenes that are negative in that sense. But for me, especially at Confluence Age, there's only learning, there's only progress. So, and many people, even in Bhakti, they have that attitude. So, I think what Dadi's point is, actually, there's never actually anything that is negative. And for a Brahmin, it's not possible at Confluence Age for anything to be detrimental, anything to be pushing us down. If there is something we're feeling, we've got to change the way we're thinking. We've got to change the way we are looking at things. So she had that line in the class just now that actually it's easy to smile. But when you think that something is difficult, you find it difficult to smile. You know, it's such a simple point, but it's just the reality. And what she's making us aware of is some of our human nature becomes so normal to us we don't even realize that this is mine, because it's become so normal to think that way. And surely everyone will agree this is difficult. But the way Daddy looks at it, the way Baba looks at it is actually it's not difficult. Nothing is difficult. The point about that she was making about excuses, I've heard her say this so many times about the way she would explain it is like you've got 10 heads of raven, you've got the 5 big vices, and then you've got these 5 little vices, like excuses and carelessness and laziness and like that. Jealousy. She sometimes changes it a bit. Sometimes she includes fear in there and everything. But I remember that the first time I heard it, you wouldn't think that making excuses is a vice, would you? But what she is, her theme running through the class just now, it was all about how are you using time. So the point she was trying to convey was that our life is as valuable as our usage of time. And so at confluence age, time is the most valuable. I mean, in any life, time is the most valuable asset anyway. But at confluence age, it's so many more times more valuable. So she's saying that if you've got an opportunity to do something good, and at confluence age, we got a chance to contribute into Shri Baba's task. We don't get that in any other age, any other birth. And there's something inside of me that makes excuses why I can't do it. I can't give because I'm worried about this. I can't do because I'm not capable about this. So what we got to watch for is the reason. The reason not to do something positive. So this is what she was emphasizing. Now, we don't necessarily see that as negative, you see, but she's making us aware that actually not taking the opportunity to do something for Baba's task is a negative. So she's redefining what we think is negative is not negative. That's just the way we think and the way we look at things. And other things we don't think is negative actually is a negative. And making us aware that we now have to use the power of karma proactively. Because in Bhakti, either we think everything is God's will, so we don't believe in karma, that God is in charge of everything, so actually my karma is not really going to make any difference. Or we do believe in karma and we're like a victim sometimes of this karma. Or it's my karma is stopping me from doing it. It's not in my karma. So, but the way Daddy and Baba teach us is you've got to actually think, okay, what resources have I got? What can I do today? So she was saying, give. And she was explaining to us that she had that samskar even before Baba's, that she wanted to give and take her father's money. Because, of course, in these types of cultures, the women, they don't really have any, they don't have their own money, they don't earn their own money. It's like a dependent culture where the father and the husband really controls everything in these families. So a lot of these women, they actually used within that system, they would see that if the man has the money, they then might just spend it on like other things. And sometimes they have habits as well. And rather than that, these women were quite clever. They're thinking, let me take the money as soon as possible and use it in a worthwhile way. So this is what Daddy used to do. And what she was trying to convey to us was that sanskar has been very useful when she became a BP. Because actually it's about utilizing this circle of energy. So she was saying that if you feed 10 people, how is it possible you won't have enough to eat? How is that possible? Because the circle of karma is going to make sure you get what you need. And she was saying that she has made sure that she didn't waste her time, waste her energy, and waste her thoughts, so waste money. And she didn't share it in this class, but when because there was an abusive situation in her house, so eventually she needed to just escape and come and take refuge in the center and surrender. She was attending for a couple of years like a student, and then she needed to leave. But she said what she made sure, the one thing that Indian women do own is their marriage jewelry. That is theirs. So she went into the safe and took that and brought that to me. So she was saying that she's always kept that. She said some of the other daddies, they just left everything and left him. But she didn't want to go empty into there. So she made sure she took her jewelry. And so what she's trying to convey, time, money, energy, that circle, you just keep doing. And look at how by those centers, they keep going, like Madhuban keeps going. It's not that they just kept the money in some savings account and let's just leave it there for a rainy day. No, they actually just keep using it to feed others, serve others. Should others making sure more is coming. The resources will keep coming. And this is what she was teaching us, that you overcome all negativity in your life by using everything in the circle in Shabbat. Is that, you want to come back with anything?
Yes, thank you, brother. That was very rich. And please, can you please share some examples where Sweet Daddy would make the balance between doing and not doing, just being?
Yeah.
Because I know that sometimes we are driven by to overdo things.
Yeah.
So how could she balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed just now. For me, I don't feel that Daddy's gone anywhere. For me, I always feel Daddy's presence, and all of them. More and more, I feel connected with the subtle region. I don't feel any separation or absence. But I found it very, very enjoyable just to have Daddy back on the screen, and it felt like I was just sitting in the classes. And I think over the 30 years or so that I was a student there with Daddy, I must have heard her classes 100,000 times. Because even since childhood, we used to travel around with her. She used to go to different places in one day, maybe 4 classes a day, 5 classes a day. So I'm very used to the way she speaks and how she expresses. But one thing I think I a little bit forgotten is what you are saying. As soon as she started her class just now, that how much she was prioritizing solitude. That, today's blessing about that inner solitude, sitting there, that's what she was starting with, that silence. And as I was looking at her, it reminded me that for her, that deep connection with the seed was everything. And Daddy was a role. She was that child of Shivada. So like she sort of said it in this class, but she used to say that these 3 questions: who am I? Who do I belong to? And what do I have to do? She, since the 1950s, she asked herself 100 times per day, these 3 questions. So this was her method, because as soon as she asked herself these 3 questions, who am I? Who do I belong to? And what do I have to do? You become introspective. So you're busy in actions, but you are, so she was constantly asking herself. And then of course, over time, she's developed her yoga more. So like she said, it just like she did 3 Om Shantis, they were just reminding, because by continually taking yourself back into that space, you begin to become more and more connected in solitude. Nothing matters other than that connection with the scene. And Sister Janki and Sister Hansa, they would share how sometimes in the middle of the night, they would hear Daddy speaking in her sleep, talking to Daddy. And Sister Janki would say, and like Hansa Ben would say, like, even Daddy's hand, she's sleeping like she's given Toady. And then she wakes up and she has the, many souls were coming in front of the angelic form. She was giving Toady to her. And Sister Janki would say that, you think about how deeply connected the soul of Daddy was with Baba. Even in sleep, it's no different. Like we go to sleep, and because our subconsciousness has still got many baggage of 63 beds, like we probably are forgetting Baba in the night. And then we wake up again, and sometimes you wake up in the morning, you've got so many other things in your mind, and it takes time to become clear again, sometimes with Baba, and develop our concentration. But Daddy had cleared everything and reached that point where it's just so deeply connected that they stay in that space of solitude. And last week we were meeting Daddy Gulzar through the video, and again, you just feel. Sister Janki used to say that these daddies from Karachi, because the Murlis were spoken more later, for them, it was just yoga, yoga, yoga. Like they practiced yoga so much that they focused on that, karma yoga, karma yoga. And a lot of us who came later as Brahmins, if you look, we are more knowledge service, knowledge service. So for us, our foundation is often knowledge and service. But for these daddies, it was yoga and dharana, yoga and inculcation. So like she was saying, inculcate all the virtues and then you become a person of values. And these daddies, they were busy the whole day. Daddy Ratan Mahini, she used to share that sometimes Mama would make the plan that they were going to sit 12 midnight until 5 a.m. yoga. And all the daddies would sit, and sometimes they would be on a rota, so in groups of three groups would be on a rota for having all night yoga. And then at 5 a.m. they would say to Mama, well, Mama, when shall we rest in the day? We've stayed up all night. And Mama would smile at them and say, what's the fun in sleeping? Let's show that we got enough yoga power that we don't need sleep. And then the whole day, performing karma, and then up again, midnight until 5. So what they were focusing on, can they master, can they be manmanabha and be very busy at the same time? And then look, in the future, they had to become big daddies for the world. So that foundation is of solid, of silence. For them. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Would anyone else like to make any comments before we stop for today? Yeah. We had another rich session. So next Saturday, we're also going to do another special event for Dadi Janki's Day. my recollection is that Daddy left us for the Sati region 2:30 in the morning on 27th of March. So I think Monday there might be a transmission through the YouTube from Motherbank. And if I get the link, I will put it in the WhatsApp group. But just for you to keep in mind, usually it's UK time, approximately 7 o'clock in the morning, that they have these transmissions from Motherbank. And so we should hopefully get a message from Daddy on Monday. But also wherever you are, you might want to try and offer some special bhog that day and invoke Daddy's presence, because I'm sure she will be visiting everyone on Monday. And of course, Daddy would like to feed everyone, give everyone tolling, give everyone classes. So let's evoke that energy for Monday. And then next Saturday, my thought is that we'll watch Daddy reading the morning, because if there's one thing I miss, it's Dadi Janki reading the morning. Because I think many of you enjoy listening to my daily morning points. See, that I got from Daddy. So that ability, I would listen to the point of the morning, and then I would listen, Daddy reading that same point of the morning. And she put it in a different way. I never thought of way before, how to see that point. So I hope that that is conveyed to you, but it's something I missed. So I thought next week we will all watch together by reading, and then I can also make some comments and how should we be listening? So lovely to connect to you all, and also greetings to those of you on YouTube later. Om Shanti, everyone. Thanks to Rosie. Sullivan, Om Shanti. Shanti, everyone.